Yeah, I want to put a word of caution out on quote unquote alternative medicine. First off, I just want to state this without actually naming names, but the biggest names in the alternative medicine industry, or whatever you want to call it, the names that are most popular on the web, on the internet, via email and all that, they're usually the worst ones going. Okay? Actually, I think there are some hidden secrets out there with various things that are probably more effective for a lot less cost and, some of the high dollar pharmaceuticals that are out there. But you have to remember, even established medicine is not so bad. I mean, it usually works a lot of times too. I mean, I don't think they always take the best approach, but that's my non-medical professional opinion as a layman. But I'm very much into the alternative medicine. I believe in a lot of it, not just believe in it. I think there's a lot of scientific basis behind it, in fact. But the biggest names you see in the alternative medicine, I'm not gonna name them, are the biggest bunch of BS going. Okay, I'll just put it that way. Now, how could you tell if something is going to really work, or something's genuine, or something is somewhat effective? And usually that's the real key phrase, is it somewhat effective? It may not be the big cure-all or works every time, but it's good for the money. There's two different ways that I use as an absurdity check to determine if something in the alternative medicine world or alternative healing world, is it effective or not. One is, do they use it in the veterinary world? Do they use it, like, if a veterinarian is allowed to use this thing on dogs, cats, and horses and other animals and stuff like that, and farm animals that are sick or whatever, that's kind of an indication or a reaffirmation that when other people are saying that this is good for humans, maybe it is, because if it's working on all these different animals, maybe it is good, It's just that they won't say, the conventional medicine won't practice this. And I'll give you an example of that. Actually, it was Dr. Stanley Jacob of the Oregon Heart Transplant Clinic, or he was the head of it in Oregon, the state of Oregon, in 1960s. He discovered that dimethyl sulfoxide worked very good against arthritis and a lot of other different things. DMSO, right? I just throw an example out here. And it's very cheap. And, they found that it can be dangerous, though, because if you put, like, crude oil on your skin or something, and you put DMSO over it, it will actually deliver the crude oil into your bloodstream, and that's very toxic, right? It won't just, there's a flip side to it, but normally speaking, if your skin is clean and you use some DMSO mixed with, say, coconut oil or aloe vera or something, it's good for arthritis. Now, they use this for the horses a lot, the race horses and stuff. They got, as a liniment. And they actually made it illegal for a number of years in this country. Then it's legal again. Now it's legal, I think, everywhere. And, a lot of times it's mixed in with other things, I'm just throwing an example out there. But, that's an example of something that actually was good, and they kept using it in the veterinary world. And actually, even when it was illegal, they used to use it in sports medicine world. Like, football players have a problem with their shoulder, their knee, they would use the DMSO. And even when it was illegal, because, it worked that damn good, right? But it's legal again. I think it's legal everywhere again. I'm pretty sure you can order it on the internet, no problem. I think Amazon offers it and stuff. I mean, it's not that well known, but I have a video on it if you ever want to look at it. But another indication, besides if veterinary people use it on horses, cats, dogs, and animals and stuff, that's kind of like a quick test to think, if it works on them, and their alternative people are saying it works on humans, and they're using it on all these animals and stuff too, that's probably legit. The other thing is, has it survived the test of time? In other words, if you look back in, ancient medicine and Chinese medicine, ancient Greek medicine, ancient medicine from India, and ancient medicine from the American Indians, South America, Africa, that if they've been using these a particular herb for a long, long time, and all these different cultures are saying it works for this, that, and the other thing, and they've been using it for thousands of years, you know, you're pretty much freaking sure that it does something good, right? You're pretty much sure that it does something good. Those are the two absurdity checks out there. There's a couple of them, like oil of oregano has been around since the father of Western medicine, Hippocrates, used to prescribe this for everything, oil of oregano. That's not a bad one. You can't take too much of this for too long. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what the official dose is per se, because it depends on if you're just taking one of these a day, you're probably fine. If you take a lot of it, you can't take a lot of it for too long at a time. Another one that's probably cool, that's cheap, that's Chinese, more or less, is astragalus. It's antiviral, anti-cancer, and anti-aging, all touted to be. It's cheap. It's not expensive. Now, you know, I would like to see doctors use stuff like this too in their prescriptions, but they won't, you know, I don't know. Well, you know, the problem is if they make it a prescription, then you won't be able to buy it. Ugh. See, there is a money racket to every damn thing, and I know that part. Oh, I know that. There's like, medicine is big bucks. And, you know, I'm afraid that I don't want them to actually prescribe supplements, because once they get their hands in it, it's just going to up the price. It's going to be like you got to go to this jerk so you can get something that you could just buy now without going to that guy, you know, to buy it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if they made this, you know, by doctor's order only, I wouldn't like that, you know. But just to get back to my main point, most of the stuff you see in alternative medicine on the internet is, especially from the biggest names, is, you know, it's a mixture of truth and bad. Most of it's exaggerated to the max. Most of it. One area I think that holds a lot of promise, because, you know, these things you have to keep buying, right? Oil of oregano, you have to buy it. You know, use up this bottle, you got to buy it. You know, I'm just showing two things. You know, DMSO, even that's very cheap. You know, use it up, but you have to buy it over again, right? I like the idea of electromedicine. I'm very much sold on that. Now, there's various things out there that say, you know, effectiveness and all this type of stuff. There's exaggerations out there. The one I just got into recently was the Lakowski multi-wave oscillator. I think that thing's awesome, because basically, if you got no problems, supposedly that just strengthens any weak cell in the body. I like the whole concept behind that. Now, I know that's I don't want to make it as a claim, but that's the theory behind it. And, you know, if that's true, and I think it is true, from like what they've done back in the 30s and 40s in major hospitals with established prestigious doctors, you know, I think that thing should be in every household in the United States. You know, we'd probably, you know, everybody be living longer, be more productive, and you know, there'd be less problems with sickness, I would think. You know, that's what I think, for very low cost, and that's the whole key. One other area that might be good is Rife technology. Now, nobody knows exactly. Well, actually, I think now they're starting to understand what Royal Rife did for like curing diseases and stuff. Like one device out there that might be a pretty decent one is the Altier Robin frequency generator that runs 3 frequencies. So, like, if you look up on a consolidated frequency list, you know, an ailment for like Candida fungus, it's like 464, 465. You can run that frequency in this it's a pad device. It makes contact. You know, it's not really like a true Rife machine going through the air and all this with radio waves, but I think might be pretty good. That might be pretty good. It's a pad device. It's about $1,000. It's a pad device. So if like you looked up 464, 465, Candida, and actually I know that particular frequency is actually effective on fungus. It's one of the listed consolidated frequency on a consolidated frequency list that's actually got too much back behind it that it works. You know, even though they don't do this in established medicine, they should be, because it's cheap. But if you add that, you use the 464, 465, say against like a fungus or, you know, athlete's foot or Candida, whatever, any kind of fungal issue, and you can run a pulse wave with this Altier Robin F-165. It's not like extreme money. It's about $1,000 versus 10,000 or 20,000 or whatever the hell the other ones are. And you can run a pulse wave, which kind of helps it get in, mixes up the signal a little bit at 4 hertz. And then you take the 464 or 465, either one, times 1024, and you run that as a carrier wave, which sends it more into the body. So, like if you take, times, in other words, that carrier wave actually will go deeper into the cells of the body, much deeper than, anything. And actually, there's other methods behind this too. You could actually use a multiple of 464, 465, and actually, if you add a 0 to it, some people say that's even more effective. Then you would add a 0 to the carrier wave, then it's over like 1,000,000 hertz, which actually penetrates the cells. I think those things are really the ones. The electromedicine is probably, it's not going to be like the be-all, end-all of everything. But when you combine it with the pharmaceuticals, you might have some pretty good stuff there, man. You might have some pretty good stuff there. Maybe the electromedicine's not going to be like the flat-out cure-all, but what I like about it is that an electronic device like that, provided you don't do something stupid and short it out, and or have it plugged in when there's a lightning storm and it gets fried through the electric circuit in the house, it should last you decades. It should last you like years and years and years and years and years. And look at the cost of medicine, right? So that looks promising. That looks promising. But, I know a lot of people are like, they realize that the medical world is ripping people off. I think they are. I mean, what do you think we got in a crisis for? Affordable Health Care Act and Obamacare. Why do we think we have a crisis? It's too expensive. Why is it so expensive? How did the American Indians support the medicine men back then? The medicine man back in the ancient times knew about dandelion root. The weed that grows in the ground, dandelion root, that's a very powerful antiviral. And it's proven by scientific people in the modern 21st century that it actually is. How come they don't use that as something that they prescribe in addition to other things? Hey, they can't make any money off it. But just do be aware that most of the stuff that is extremely popular, I'll mention one name, Oprah. She puts a lot of stuff out there. I'll mention one name. She's not really into this, but she puts stuff out there. If Oprah put out like, oh, this thing did it, everybody believe it. Everybody believe it. You know what I mean? So, that's the whole point of this damn thing I'm putting out here. Just watch out with this alternative stuff. Because actually some of the strongest stuff is not that well known. And what I put out a little more common. But, when people ask me questions and comments about its effectiveness, I say, I don't know. I tell them the truth. I don't know for freaking sure. It's touted to do this, it's been backed by this. It's got this, Try it out, but just don't let your life depend upon it, though. That's my whole point, because I don't know for a fact, But it's something I've always gotten into, and I studied a lot, and I think it's worthwhile for the bucks that you have to pay, because I always said this as an advice for alternative people, and you should put this in. If you go to some alternative doctor, and they're going to charge you big bucks to cure your cancer, and you say oh yeah, that's great, and he's got all this stuff and all this junk, and he's going to do this or whatever. You know what I say? You go to an attorney, and you put your money in an escrow, and when he produces results that are verified by established medical, like the cancer's gone or whatever, then he gets a portion of the escrow. And then you verified it again, the cancer's gone next year, he gets another portion in the year after or whatever. You work it out like that. This way, you don't get ripped off. Because I've heard a lot of horror stories out there. There's a lot of snake oil in the alternative world, and it's killing it. And actually, the alternative medicine world should be the established medicine world, because there's a lot of merit in the actual alternative medicine world. Like 2 things, if they use a lot of these, if there's something that's used in a veterinary world on animals and different things, horses, dogs, and cats, and others are claiming it works for humans, that's probably a good sign that it works, because the veterinarian people are using it, and there is some similarity between, humans and animals in some ways, the way things are, the DMSO is a good example. They use it on the horses for problems with the joints. It works on humans for problems with the joints too. And the other thing is, if they've used it in ancient times, going back thousands of years in various cultures, it's probably legit. I mean, you think all those people in all the different parts of the world have been using this for thousands of years. It's BS. The only people know anything is the ones that got it today out of a lab with science. The only ones that know anything had to come out of like the big pharmaceutical labs. No, actually, most of the stuff that comes out of the pharmaceutical labs actually came from nature. And one famous one is aspirin. Aspirin actually came from white willow bark. White willow bark was, the pain reliever for your headaches back in the old times, and they synthesized what was in that white willow bark, and they called it aspirin, and that was a big pain reliever. So, Anyway, I just want to put out this common sense video, because most of the big names out there are the biggest names in the alternative world. Oh, man. I'm really it's like you got two enemies out there. You got the big names in the alternative world, and you got some of the conventional doctors. And in between here, you got good alternative, and you got good conventional doctors. So, hopefully, those two things I told you about will help you sift through the BS a little bit better. Okay?